what is 42? I don't know. Too excited.
Oh, and 4% is
I like
Dan
being
Tom,
top
and today we're
yeah.
going to be talking about yet another resolution to a very big mystery.
Well, this being
when it comes
important to that
space
gamma ray
sciences.
burst we
We're going to
can
be
milk
talking about
out
gamma
here.
ray bursts,
Put it
also known
behind
as
Gorilla Glass
GRBs.
because it's
These
Bell's
super rare
equality
events
to
that, when
mathematicians
happen,
in their house.
tend to release the same amount of
Astrology
energy
by
as
numbers
our
and
sun
mentions,
is
oh
going to
tight.
release
I
throughout
definitely
its
called in
10
a
billion
special
years of
reason
life,
on how
but in
black
a
holes
fraction
become
of a second,
supermassive.
or sometimes a
The
few
surface
seconds.
of Cerebro
And this
here
is something
giving
that
me
has actually been sort of bugging
kind of the
scientists for a very
areas
long
of the
time,
trajectory. It's
because
like
there are
things
still so
really
many
do. I
things
shoot a
we don't
plane
really
over there, it's
understand
going to
about
go
them.
up, it's going to
And more
bounce around,
specifically,
it's
there
going
are
to come
still
down
so
over
many
there.
things about gamma ray
And I'm
bursts
going to
that
use
don't
some
actually make
maneuvers
sense. Now, first of
to
all, a
do
little
that,
bit of
change
history.
some fields over, go
Originally,
to the
nobody
Y
actually knew what
index
gamma
instead
ray
of flipping
bursts
all the
were.
way to Z.
The first
And
detection of gamma ray bursts actually
do
happened
stuff.
completely by accident, and it was not a result of a scientific study. It was
This comes
detected by
similar
a
to thing. You're going
secret
to hit
satellite
Legionnaire at the
orbiting
back of
around
it,
planet
make
Earth,
42
the
smaller.
Bella satellite that you see right here.
He may not
whose main
realize that.
purpose
I
was
usually
actually
don't.
to
You're going
try
to be
to
watching
detect
this
secret
hopefully
nuclear
in some
explosions on the
system. It may
surface
be
of the
hot
planet.
like the
For
active
example,
class
if the
because usually
Soviets
that
or
keeps
maybe
the whole
Chinese
thing, the
were
Legionnaire,
testing
under
them
the
somewhere,
limit
or were somehow
for
trying to avoid the
1-2
agreements that were
singlet
made between the
states on
countries.
what
And so
kind of
back
goes
in
on in the HUD, well,
1967,
in the
it
valley
made
to the
its
ear.
first
You
detection.
want to get the soul
But all
stone
this was
running
done
in the
in
form of
secret,
the
and for
time
many
stone,
years, nobody
power
actually knew about
stone,
the
and
detections until the
whatever the
military
SCPs
declassified
got
the
locked
results.
up in containment.
And the first data from these satellites came out in 1973, around 6 to 7 years later. But even back then, nobody had any idea what exactly they were looking at.
So,
Some
well,
people
it's
thought
about
that
this
maybe it's
math.
actually
Again, the
collisions
math is
between
very
different
good
comets
because I can
producing
play at
unusual
M2 from
explosions. They
M1,
were just
and
way
it
too
becomes
powerful to be
0,
coming from
1
another
systems
galaxy.
of
Some people
hydrogen.
thought that maybe
What
it
are we
was
doing?
explosions of neutron
Polarized and
stars or
redshift and blue
some
stuff.
unusual supernova really close to us. But we didn't really see any other
Hubble
observations
45
coming from these
on
regions.
time,
And it wasn't until
sliding down the
1997
pipes
that we officially
in
knew
the system
exactly
of
we were
what the
looking at.
containment and
The
geodesics,
most
the
powerful
energy of that
explosions in
system,
the universe.
having
The
twistor
explosions
theory
so
being part of
ridiculously
it. I
powerful
can't do it
that
without the
nobody
environment
actually
around
believed they
me
were
because it
possible
necessarily
until
wouldn't
later
emit
on,
the proper
releasing more light and
gamma
more
ray
energy in a fraction of
high
a second
entity
than the entire galaxy they were coming
tweet
from.
here,
And
but all in a single set
taken a lot of
to the
adjusting.
entirety
We've
of
been
that
challenged.
function while
And now
containing
we're
the
stepping back
Euler's
in.
number in
It's
one
okay if
form
it
of
doesn't
0
feel
and
quite
1
right.
to
You're still
M2
here
steps,
for
0
the
and 1
Take a
bits and
look at
bytes across that
nyprojectgroup.org.
momentum equation,
COVID has
right? I
changed.
think momentum's do it
And
real
since
good.
then, over the years, more and more gamma ray
Dude, I
bursts were
did it from
detected,
watching
with
you.
thousands upon thousands discovered to date. But obviously, in the last 2 decades of us studying them,
Back to the
not
HUD.
everything about them still makes sense. So, for example, we know that there are generally,
Well,
or there seem to be
mathematically
generally,
speaking, you
two
can
types of
fireflower
different
this
gamma
pretty
ray bursts.
easily.
The
Given the
most common type
approximation,
of
I can
gamma
make
ray
it
burst
square.
seems
I
to
can
be
scale on
this right
things,
here.
slide and
It's
pencil
what's known
by
as a collapsar.
the ramp
When a
up of
massive
the
star that's a lot more
start
massive than
back
the sun
before the top position
essentially
and
reaches
spin
the end of its
motion
existence
direction,
and starts
because then I know what
collapsing
it
on
is
itself.
on an early containment. Got to
Eventually,
house
there's
it
a
stable
really large
enough,
burst on the inside
and then get
that
it
sort of
moving in the
tries to
pipes at
escape the surface
Fermilab
of the
and
star,
ramp that bad
and
puppy
as
up.
it
It
breaks
makes
the
sense
surface,
given the
that's when
changing
the gamma
fields
ray
of the
burst
magnets.
occurs.
EM,
This, on
strong
the other
force,
hand,
weak
starts
force,
producing a lot of
electromagnetism
other
gives me a
emissions
little bit of
afterwards as well. As a matter
zero,
of fact, it sort of
SCP
looks
0.
like this jet, as it starts
You've seen
colliding
this
with various
before, because what I was
materials
talking about in
moving
those
away
little
from the star,
skipjack phases
ends
of
up
what
producing
light
what's known
is
as
by
an afterglow in
this
a lot of different
conversational
frequencies.
model.
First in the
Gives me
X-rays,
some neural
then in
net
the
stuff
visible light,
on
radio
pins
light,
on the
and
right
so
hand
on.
rule for
And
some
this
Ben Eater
afterglow is
stuff
what the
about
scientists have been able to
how
detect
some
many
general
different times
material
now
would
using
work
different
inside
telescopes.
of that kind of
But following
function.
the explosion,
And stretch
what's left
out, there's a
behind
laser
is
beam
essentially
over a
a black
distance
hole.
compressed in a
And this model
marshmallow.
of the collapsar, of the star collapsing on
GRIH, those
itself,
numbers are
was
congruent.
originally the only explanation
Micro
for
and
the existence
macro,
of gamma ray
smoothness
bursts.
of general
But some of the gamma ray
relativity,
bursts
and the
were
globular
slightly
states
different.
of
Something did not
quantum
really adapt.
mechanics,
As a
using
matter of fact, this
topologies.
image
If
right
I just
here
want to
sort of shows
arbitrarily
you
put up
how
a
a lot of these
matrix,
gamma ray bursts
stretch that
do
matrix,
have very
and put a
different
reality over
properties.
here like the
Some of
standard
them are
model,
extremely
per
short,
se.
some of them are
It's
more or
4x4
less long. Some of them
perfect
seem to go up,
square or
go
anything
down,
else
and
that
then
kind
go
of
up
describes
again.
the M1,
And some of them seem
M2,
to happen
MN,
many times.
M1,
Which of
M2,
course
what you could
suggests that
say
gamma ray
X. Well,
bursts
let's
could
get
actually
some
be produced in
this
different
up
ways.
here, because
And so a few
given the
years ago, the
design
scientists
on
officially
XL
confirmed that
and these
the
bits
other way
and
gamma ray
bytes
universe can actually
could
be
correlate
created
to the same
is when
index
two
of
neutron
explaining
stars
that on
collide,
droid
producing something
programs from
similar. In
YouTube,
this case, it's
caching
usually a
astrology,
short-duration GRP,
taking
but it's
astrology,
still
using
extremely
topology,
powerful.
X, Y, and
And so
Z, and
because of
turning it
this,
into
today
computer
we sort of
engineering.
have two
Beep,
different
beep.
types of GRP classifications.
Come on,
We
Neon.
have the short
Like,
bursts
he's still
that
the
are usually
elephant
caused
fish
by
guy,
neutron stars,
you know, and we
and then
use
we
that
have the
thesis for
longer
now.
bursts that are usually more or less different as well,
And that would be
that are caused by collapsars with a lot of properties determined by the amount of material that the gamma ray burst has to go through. But last year, something else was discovered that was recently analyzed in a paper you can find in the description below.
I don't do it very
Another
often.
observation was made by different facilities around the planet, discovering another unusual GRB. And because this one here was actually thoroughly analyzed by different facilities,
Well, the quality
we
on
now have a
Schrodinger's
pretty good
equation
picture of
says
what
you.
we think happened here.
You
So
are
here's what
the
the
reason
scientists
all
saw.
laws are
The
made.
initial flash was really short, approximately 0.9 seconds, suggesting that this was a short GRB or that it was caused by two neutron stars colliding. But further observations from other facilities indicated that this was actually a really large supernova, and there was a lot of afterglow as well, suggesting that this was actually a long GRB, most likely from some sort of a collapsar. And this by itself is already really impressive. This galaxy is about 6.6 billion light years away from us. But by using the incredible telescopes in Hawaii,
made to think about it,
specifically
though.
the one known as
Can you prove
Gemini
I'm
North,
a lying
these
district
scientists were
attorney,
able to visually
attorney
confirm
general,
that this was indeed
defense
a supernova,
secretary,
and more likely
anybody?
not a kilonova such as the one produced by neutron stars. Implying, of
Psychologically,
course,
I
that
use
this
this
was
thesis to
some
kick
sort
you
of an
loose, get you
unusual
some gravity,
collapsar.
just
Now,
get you
apparently,
on the
just to get
ZBrush
this
here,
picture
me
alone,
and you
the
talking the
scientists had
same
to do a
thing,
lot of
using the
processing.
same language
First
and
of all,
code
obviously, you have
sequence,
to somehow
code 9,
remove the
flank left,
background light
E4,
from the
that kind of
galaxy
stuff.
itself.
Start
You
to
then
C
also
squared,
have to
and you know where I'm
pinpoint the
going with this,
exact
but the
location of
constant
supernova
teachings,
that's
redundant
once again
preaching say when
over
you start
6
to C
billion light years away
squared,
from us.
seeing
And
in
so all
3D
this
is
did
just
require
another
a
step to
thorough
the fourth
analysis,
dimension in
something
2D
that's
land,
thoroughly
because you're going to be
described in the
working.
paper in the
Name going to be
description
leisure.
below. But more importantly, their analysis allowed them to understand what probably happened here. And more specifically,
Definition
it
of
actually
leisure
helped them to
changes.
possibly
Kind of
solve the
argue
mystery.
the
They
DL
believe
over
it was
the
caused
DT
by
here
this,
and
by a collapsar.
getting output
A
on the
gamma burst
results
that
of
leaves the
63 and
star
73, but I
exploding from
needed
within
63 or
and
something
breaking the
close to
surface
it.
right here.
If I don't
But
got
in this case,
63,
they actually
scientists in the
believe
room
that
for
this
some
is more
hot
likely what
crap
happened.
pops off
It was
inside here and
basically
blows
a
up the
fizzle.
universe.
The gamma ray burst was just not
We're in this
powerful
area,
enough to
not this
penetrate
area, in the time
and to
dilation of the
break the
Shangri-La
star open.
build.
It very
Still
likely started,
require
it
some
went
Sophie
through
stars
most of
out
the
here to be
star,
blinking
but
inside of
just as
this,
it reached the
but
surface,
at the end of it,
fizzled
Fermilab,
and the black hole was created. And
desk in the
this would actually
system,
result
on
in a
that area
relatively
over
short
there,
gamma ray
like we
burst,
don't narrow it
while
down.
also then
Well,
producing
me,
all the
you,
other
him over
observations,
there,
including the optical light and a lot of other emissions that were
this
detected.
neutron right
And
here,
this, of course, means
universe,
that maybe the star was
just
really
inverted,
massive or had
kind
a
of
very strange
massive,
composition,
out
where
past
essentially
operator,
it did
past our
start to
comprehension
collapse,
level
but
of
the
that
gamma
kind of
ray
number.
burst almost
And
did
then
not
inside
happen.
of here,
Only
the
a tiny
brain.
part of it escaped.
Let's say on the
While at
other
the
end of
same
that
time,
thing
helping
right
us
here,
explain a
it's
mystery
a
of the
fusion
missing
reactor,
supernova.
right? We
So when it
got
comes to so-called
collisions of
longevities,
energy
they're
making
actually generally
durium, or
associated with a
tritium,
very specific
durium,
type of
helium,
supernova. The supernova
hydrogen,
that's known as
iron,
the
how it
Type
plays off
1c
in the real world, the
Rho-Divine
compositions and
supernova. But for some
dimensions.
reason, there are so many of
And you
these
get some of
unusual
this
Type
in that
1c
area, but it's
supernova,
not quite
but there are
all the
actually
way.
not
I
enough
can click a few
GRBs
buttons
produced
in the
by
HUD
them.
here
So
and
something
get
is
the
missing
T800
there.
running
If all
real good.
GRBs are created by these Type 1c Rho-Divine supernova,
That thing
how is
over
it
there,
that some
huh?
of them do
Yep,
not
that's the
produce
thing
gamma ray
right over
bursts?
there.
And so there's definitely discrepancy between the amount of actual supernova detected and the actual gamma ray bursts. But this paper provides an excellent explanation. First of all, maybe some of these short GRBs that we thought are coming from neutron stars are actually coming from collapsars, from stars going
Well, the ones that are
supernova.
more,
At the same time,
by definition,
maybe the
some
majority of
are
these
done by the same
collapsars
thing.
have
They
trouble
bring it up,
creating
and now
GRBs
it's a damn
because of
problem.
this.
And
The
now,
star
you
is just
know,
too
it's
massive,
way
star
the
is
hell
maybe
over
too
there,
large,
but now
and so the actual burst never makes it to the surface.
I'll be
to
long,
create
good, and
the
dead.
gamma
At
rays.
the speed of the
And so
thing,
this is a
causal
perfect
running at me. I
explanation
mean,
for why
I'm
we're
still
not
good. I
seeing
can
a lot
live,
of these
die,
GRBs
live 100
everywhere.
times, have a
It's
couple
actually
of
quite
kids.
possible that it's very
And kids
difficult
have
for
kids.
a typical burst to somehow break the envelope of the star itself. Which also, of course, implies that for a GRB to be
Be nice in
formed,
the stone
the
mills,
star
right?
must be
Yeah.
really
Keep my
special
chains and
or
rails.
have extremely powerful
Well, like I said, the stone
explosion
mill
in
is
the
gravity.
beginning.
You got to come
But
in
what
here
sort
and
of
tell me,
properties the
oh,
star
those
must
things
have,
are poisoning the
that's not something we can
universe, and I'd be like,
currently
yeah,
answer. But
that
overall,
thing.
any
Oh my
study in regards
goodness,
to
it
GRBs
is the devil.
usually super fascinating. First of all, there's already been
The whole
implications
time
that
it
some
was
of the
you,
GRBs
not this
potentially
thing.
have a
It was
chance
you.
to cause an extinction event on the planet. At least one such event might have actually even occurred on
Damn
the
you,
planet
Kubla Khan.
approximately 450 million years ago. But because these events are so extremely rare, and because there are actually currently no potential objects that might go supernova and create GRBs in the
A lot
Milky
of
Way
it's born
galaxy,
in dot
we
product,
currently, and actually for a very
born
long
in
time,
rule,
have nothing to worry
dot
about.
product. There's a lot
Nevertheless,
should
these are
be.
still
It's like
extremely
you need to learn
intriguing
it because
events.
you get this
Even though
wrong,
they're
make
so
shitty
extremely
decisions
rare
and
in
get to
every
the elected
single
official's
galaxy,
desk.
most likely occurring once every 5 million years or so, because of the rarity of these unusual events and because of how incredibly powerful they are, there are still so many unanswered questions about them. More
Kind of.
importantly,
But I don't
in the
go
last
straight
few
up,
years, the
so
scientists were
there's a
able to
lot of
create
math
lot
involved in
super
there, and then
interesting
maybe
techniques
you
in
get
order
a
to
crystal
actually
check,
search for
you
these
can pull it
events,
off too.
in order to precisely locate these objects and to be able to analyze them in various
100%.
frequencies,
Woozy, where you're
which is a
buried.
collection of different satellites located in different
All this
parts of the
snow, and
orbit
it's
that are able to
radioactive.
detect
Out there on
different
Bikini
frequencies.
Island.
And by detecting the same event in different frequencies from different locations around the planet, they can then be used to triangulate the exact location from which something came. In this particular case, it took approximately 17 hours to work out the exact location,
Get out of my
and then, by using the
Push,
very
yeah,
powerful
just push.
Hawaiian telescope,
You're
these scientists were able to
need to be
collect the
strong.
optical data in order to establish that this was a supernova. So definitely super interesting,
Thorium
very
reactors,
advanced, and
Anton?
extremely
I
complicated
agree.
techniques.
That'd be nice.
Something that one day will most
Thorium
likely
molten
create some sort of an
sulfide,
amazing technology
figuring out
that
the
we might
wave
actually use
functions
in
of the
everyday
spectrums,
life.
the algorithms
But
of
I
the
guess we don't know
timelines and
what it is just
Pendros,
yet.
integrated models
Anyway,
of
very
historical
interesting study,
eschatology,
interesting
chasing the
discovery,
devil
and
and the
resolution to
COVID
an
and
old mystery.
the
But once we
famine
learn
and the
something
dead.
else about gamma ray bursts,
That'd be
or
great.
something else is discovered using this network, I'll make sure to follow this up with another video. And so until then, maybe subscribe, maybe share this
believe
with
it,
someone
AML
who loves learning about
offers
space and
an answer.
sciences. And maybe come back tomorrow to learn something else. And also maybe
Gotta
consider
have them in
supporting this
containment.
channel on
Can't kill
Patreon,
'em.
joining a channel
Gosh,
membership,
get 'em
or
all,
buying
though.
the wonderful person t-shirt you can find in the description. Stay
That's
wonderful,
what
I'll see you
Anton.
tomorrow.